Nintendo just shadow dropped the Game Boy and Game Boy Color emulator to the Nintendo Switch online service, and if you have the expansion pack, the Game Boy Advance is available as well. At launch, we're getting 9 Game Boy and Game Boy Color games and 6 Game Boy Advance games. Out of those 15 total games, 6 of them feature multiplayer. They can be played either over online or local wireless multiplayer, and due to the nature of the Game Boy systems, they all require a separate Switch console. But the real question is, are they even worth your time? Your precious, precious time? Let's find out. First up is Game & Watch Gallery 3. Need I say more? If you're not familiar with Game & Watch, they were a series of handheld game devices that were sold in the 80s. Each system primarily only contained one itsy-bitsy game that the system was themed around, not unlike Tiger Electronic handheld games. If you are not familiar with those either, well, I can safely say that these games are probably not for you. They are from a much more primitive time of gaming and lack basically everything you'd expect from modern games. They're a decent proof of concept though. This Gallery 3 version of the Game & Watch is a Game Boy Color re-release that is a collection of 5 Game & Watch games. They feature the original versions of the game, as well as a version that is considered modern. This term only applies if you take a time machine back to 1998 when this Game Boy Color version first released, and even that is a stretch. The cherry on top is that out of all the games included in Game & Watch Gallery 3, only one of them can be played multiplayer. And it is a super secret hidden game that requires you to grind out 20 in-game stars per person to unlock it. Like what? When you finally do unlock the game, it looks something like this. Yeah, this ain't it, Chief. This ain't it. Moving on, we have the best thing to ever come out of Russia, and that is Tetris. Everyone has some semblance of idea as to what Tetris is, and this is exactly that. This is arguably the game that put the Game Boy on the map, as it was bundled with the North American and European versions of the system. Unlike Game & Watch before it, this one actually lets you multiplayer with someone right out of the gate. However, it's not head-to-head in the sense that you can directly compete with someone and see their little Tetranemos. Instead, all you can see is their little avatar, and you can see how many lines they have left to complete. Ooh, Mario and Luigi are really showing their similarities here. So it allows you to get a sense of where they are in the game, and that's about it. Tetris is timeless though, and it is definitely better than Game & Watch Gallery 3. Sorry, buddy. That's all the Game Boy has to offer in regards to multiplayer on the Nintendo Switch Online, but thankfully the Game Boy Advance has twice as many games that feature multiplayer modes at launch. That's gotta be a good thing, right? First up is a game called Kuru Kuru Kururin. It's a cutesy game in which you are placed in control of a rotating helicopter that must be carefully maneuvered through increasingly tight and tricky labyrinthine levels. There are quite a few short levels to navigate through, with most of them only lasting a few seconds if you know what you're doing. It is easy to pick up but difficult to master. This game lets you see your competitor in real time right on your screen as you play, which adds to the fun or the frustration depending on how you look at it. Seeing my competitor leave me in the dust made me want to do nothing more than to rush through the level, causing my lack of skill to plummet even further. Overall, this is a fun little jaunt with a friend. Next up, believe it or not, is Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga. I was surprised when I saw this one on the list because I did not remember it having multiplayer originally on the GBA, and that's because it didn't, at least not in the main game. Superstar Saga features a version of the original Mario Bros. Arcade game that allows you to square off against a friend, racing to defeat Spinies and collect coins. For what it is, it's fun, but you will probably get tired of it after only a couple rounds. Mario Kart, one of the greatest multiplayer games of all time. The Switch has Mario Kart 8, Super Mario Kart 64, and now Mario Kart Super Circuit. This makes the Switch easily the best system to ever play Mario Kart on. Featuring typical Mario Kart characters and 40 tracks, Mario Kart Super Circuit is standard Mario Kart fare. Originally, the portability of the game made it oh so alluring and allowed you to overlook its technical drawbacks. But here in 2023, the limitations of the GBA really hold this game back. Maybe if the nostalgia runs deep for you and Super Circuit courses through your veins, Super Circuit is the game for you. but for most, it is simply fun for a few rounds, and that's about it. With other objectively better Mario Kart games readily available on the Switch, it's quite hard to recommend this one. Lastly, we have what is considered to be one of the greatest Mario games of all time, Super Mario Bros. 3. I thought it was going to allow you to play through the game in multiplayer like you could originally on the NES way back when, and even later on the SNES. But instead, the multiplayer in this game is quite literally the same as it was in Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga. Why? It allows you to revisit the original Mario Bros. Arcade game and play against a friend. Kinda disappointing, honestly, but it is what it is. I know the Game Boy didn't have too many games that supported multiplayer, and that's because it was a hassle to need that link cable, you know? But there are some good ones that I hope get added at a later date. Well, if you like this video, let us know, and we'll do the same thing for other systems available on the Nintendo Switch Online service. Super Profundo on the early eve of your day.